Hello, BookTube. I have a book tag for you today, and it's a fortuitously timed one. It's the book buying tag, which was created by My Books Are Me, and I was tagged by Love from CL. And the reason it's fortuitous is because the first question in this tag, it's all about how you acquire your books and what you do with them once you have them. And the first question is, where do you buy your books? And just by coincidence, I'm doing this tag on a day that pretty much saw an absolutely complete outline of where I buy my books. It's not planned that way. Some of you who maybe work for Barnes& and Noble will know that it's currently Employee Appreciation Week, which means people with employee discounts get a little bump extra in their discount as a sign that the company appreciates them. And since I have a lifetime employee discount that applies to me, so the first stop on my book buying day today was my Barnes & Noble, where I got, first of all, magazines are also discounted. I got the Weekly Standard's holiday reading issue. That is Mark Summers' illustration. He does the illustrations for both their seasonal reading issues, and that is Geoffrey Chaucer on a snowmobile. And it was a great issue. It was all the political stuff at the front, which I ignored, but it was the reviews in the back were fantastic. And I want to read you just a bit of two of them. I had great reactions to almost all of them. James Banner did a review of Henry V by Malcolm Vail, which is a book we've actually seen on this channel. And one of which he has a wonderful sentiment. It echoes something that I felt when I was reading it. Despite its thick scholarly apparatus, the book has the feel of an adventure, of someone following his own interests where they lead and not those dictated by custom or other scholars' concerns. A work as personal as any work of exquisitely detailed scholarship can be. I thought that was really good. And then I had an opposite reaction. I cried into my Chinese food. Michael Taub does a review of a collection of the comic strip Fred Basset, which stars a wry and funny basset hound. And at one point, when Taub asks, why was the basset hound chosen as the main protagonist? These popular hunting dogs are known for their speed, sense of smell, and intelligence. It wasn't all tragic, though, because while I was at Barnes & Noble, I also got a book. I got this, Dragonfly and Amber, by Diana Gabaldon, with a beautiful TV cover from the television series on Stars. And what I don't understand is why they haven't done this with all of the books in the series. Why are the middle two books in the series still have the boring, childish, monochrome colors? Why don't they all have pretty covers like this? But since I was getting this, I couldn't resist also getting a bookmark with a tassel. This is Eat, Sleep, Read. So that was the first stop, and that reflects the fact that I do sometimes buy books at Barnes & Noble. Usually not trade paperbacks, usually mass market paperbacks of romance or Star Trek, since publishers tend not to send me mass market paperbacks. But then I left Barnes & Noble. It was only there for a little bit. I had to go because I had arranged to meet a group of muscular teenagers, and I met them, and we were walking past the Boston Public Library on our way to go to our day when we saw a sign announcing the Boston Public Library book sale, which happens every other month, every even-numbered month, and I'd completely forgotten about the December sale. I'd completely forgotten that was happening today. So I saw the sign. You can't walk past the Boston Public Library book sale, but we had limited time, so I went in. We went in to the book sale, and I did it. I grabbed a basket, and I must have done it in record time. I don't think I've ever done the Boston Public Library book sale any faster than I did today. And I got a small number of books. I got Jenny Uglow's biography of King Charles II, A Gambling Man. It's a soup to nuts biography, but it mainly concentrates on the risk that Charles took reasserting power after, from exile. And I got Henry Hurt's book, Reasonable Doubt, which is his really forensic analysis of all the evidence in the JFK assassination. He is a wonderfully judicious even-minded writer, and he assesses all of the material that the Warren Commission and all of the critics of the Warren Commission have assembled over the decades, and he comes to the conclusion at the end of his book that the preponderance of the evidence makes it virtually certain that Lee Harvey Oswald was a dupe of unknown forces whose plan was to assassinate the United States, the President of the United States. In other words, he comes to the conclusion that the Warren Commission's determination that one man acted alone is wrong. Now, no matter what you think one way or another about that, it's an invaluable book to have. One of the sanest defenses or attacks of the Warren Commission that I've ever read. And I saw it at the Boston Public Library and immediately realized I didn't own a copy. So now I have a copy. Also, something that I love, a book that I love, and that I as soon as I saw it, I realized I didn't have a copy. This is Ben Pimlott's The Queen, his biography of Queen Elizabeth II, which is long and detailed, but also snarky and very smart. Really, really a great biography to have, and as we've seen from my interminable bookshelf tour, it has lots of company. And then two Penguin classics to further Project Penguin. The American by Henry James, and A Life in Letters by Anton Chekhov. This is just a collection of Chekhov's letters, which turned out to be a theme for the day, but we'll get to that. And then we were done with the Boston Public Library book sale. That's another place where I buy books. Every other month, I go to the Boston Public Library book sale and reliably get a bag full of books. So that was place number 2. The next place on the agenda later on in the day was the Goodwill. And there I found 2 books. I found an Everyman's Library edition of the letters of Lady Mary Montagu. She's an 18th century writer, first a friend and then an enemy of Alexander Pope, and the author of lots and lots of stuff, a wide variety of literary forms, although a collection of her, I myself think, and the person who wrote the introduction to this volume also agrees that her letters are superbly entertaining. So I'm glad to have that. I don't have anything else in a printed version by Lady Mary, only stuff from Project Gutenberg. And I also got a great biography, Serge Bramley's biography of Leonardo da Vinci, perhaps the greatest Leonardo da Vinci biography of them all. And I didn't have a copy. I think the last thing I had was a Penguin trade paperback of this. This is in a little rough shape, but I'll fix that. So I couldn't pass it up. It's an amazing 1-volume biography of Leonardo da Vinci, and that was. The Goodwill, but that wasn't the only thing I got. While I was at the Goodwill, I had been carrying around this. This was my shoulder bag, my current shoulder bag. It's just a plain canvas thing, 2 deep pockets in the front, and no flap, just an open sack, no flap over the top, and I've been liking it just fine. But because I have my new boyfriend, because I have a new device, and because shoulder bags at the Goodwill are dirt cheap, I thought, why not look for a shoulder bag? I had been looking the other day, just at random. A catalog, an unsolicited LL Bean catalog, came to the house, full of winter stuff and whatnot. And of course, because I have a weak spot for shoulder bags, my eye went straight to the shoulder bags, and I was looking at them and I was thinking, it's obscene to spend this much money on a shoulder bag when you see 80 million of them every day or every week at various charity shops and whatnot. But isn't this nice? And I remembered from years past that LL Bean, they're wonderful people to deal with. They really care about their customers. But in the end, I thought, no, don't be ridiculous. Why are you going to spend $60 on a shoulder bag when you see millions of them? And at the Goodwill, I found an LL Bean shoulder bag. In perfect condition, a brand new thing. Somebody just got rid of it. It has a flap, and it has the flap has a latch that you can close the thing if you want to, and it's enormously roomy on the inside. And it also has a handle, which my old one did not. So now I have a new shoulder bag as well. And it's the one that I'd just been contemplating buying. And then when we were done with the Goodwill, I went to the Brattle Bookshop here in Boston, my number one most usual spot for book buying. And I got something we've seen on this channel before. This is David Herbert Donald's biography of Charles Sumner, one of the founders of the Republican Party, a great abolitionist and human rights advocate and whatnot. And this is a da capo trade paperback reprint of the two halves of this guy's biography of Sumner, and one of the halves of which, Charles Sumner and the Rights of Man, is a book we've seen before in one of my tedious book repair videos. And there was a volume before that. This guy always meant to write just one huge biography, but it took him so much time that his publisher asked him to do what he had ready first, and that was Charles Sumner and the Coming of the Civil War, which I didn't have. And now I have them both in the one volume that the author always intended. So there was that at the Brattle. And then I came back here to the house, and it's a Saturday, and I don't think all the mail has come yet, but there was this thing. There was one package. I thought we just open it right here. This is some public affairs books. Okay, this is Charles Morris, A Rabble of Dead Money. This is a new history of the Great Depression, 1930s. Okay, so I didn't buy that, but that is a book acquisition. So there you go. That is the question number one. Where do you buy your books? You have, in one day, without any planning, you have pretty much a perfect example, an illustration of where I buy my books. I can't really, off the top of my head, library book sales, the Goodwill, and the Brattle, and Barnes & Noble occasionally. Those four are the places where I do. So that's question number one. Question number two, do you ever pre-order books? Not really. This is one of the questions in this tag that just doesn't apply to me. Pre-ordering books is when you're a fan of a series or an author and you just can't wait for the next one. And of course that doesn't apply to me because I get review copies of books. So I might be eagerly waiting for something, but I'm eagerly waiting for it to be created, not for it to appear in bookstores. So by the time a book that I'm eagerly awaiting has arrived in a bookstore, I have long since read it. So that really doesn't apply to me. Question number three, on average, how many books do you buy a month? Well, this video is going to make a lie out of this, but ordinarily not many. I get a large number of books in the mail every day. It doesn't look like I'm going to get a large amount of books today, but Monday will make up for it. And because that's true, and because so much of my reading now is new books, I'm really not justified in loading myself down with books whenever I'm out and about. I do accumulate them, but the key is to keep them coming through. So I'd say in an average month, maybe 20 books. Maybe I buy 20 books. This was not an average month. This was not an average day. I ran into a Boston Public Library book sale. That was not expected. Let's see here. Question number four, do you use local library? And question number five, if so, how many books at a time? I have used the Boston Public Library far more often than in the past than I do now. I look at their new release section and I see antiquities. I see things from a million years ago for me. And I'm not going to... I look at the new release section of the Boston Public Library and I see books that I have already read and reviewed, that they're long since passed for me. So, and, the rest of it, I might go to their graphic novel section, but I'm certainly not going to prowl the shelves. I mean, the stacks of the Boston Public Library. I'm not going to do that. So usually I don't borrow anything from the Boston Public Library. I just sort of go and look at the new release section just to make sure that all the T's are crossed. But the Boston Public Library is not the only library that I belong to in Boston. I also belong to a private library called the Boston Athenaeum, where they also have a new release section, but the Boston Athenaeum is very much not about the latest thing. I mainly go there just to soak up the atmosphere and get some work done. Although recently, in the last half year, I haven't been able to do anything like that. I ordinarily used to go to Bates Hall at the Boston Public Library, an absolutely gorgeous room. You have to see it to believe it. I used to go there almost every day to get work done. I can't really, and the same thing with the Athenaeum. The Athenaeum is even more beautiful than the Boston Public Library's old building, and I used to go there to work as well. And there's no greater feeling than sitting in one of the deep, easy chairs in the window of the Boston Athenaeum, with classical statuary all around you and snow falling down outside on State Street. But in the last few months, most of this year, I really can't justify doing that when I have old, sick invalids at home. I just can't justify doing it. I go there, and the last time I tried it, I went there and thought, what are you doing sitting here typing and reading when you could be doing this at home? What if they need you? You have to be there. If it's the same thing you're doing, if you don't need the library for something, then it's grotesquely selfish to go and do that when you have people who depend on you at home and need you there. So that part of my life is over for the short term. For the foreseeable future. Question number 6. What's your opinion of library books? Kind of an odd question. I love them. Of course I do. I don't. Those of you who are librarians or who are picky will be horrified by an admission that I've made on this channel before, which is that I annotate them. I annotate everything that I read. So, I do it in pencil, and it's legible, and it's not stupid. I'm not asking what Viridian means. I'm making comments, and it doesn't always happen extensively. But when it happens, I don't pay any attention to whether or not the book is mine. So there are many books in the history and biography section of the Boston Public Library that have very tasteful annotations from yours truly. Question number 7: how do you feel about secondhand bookshops? Well, there's one I'm rather fond of. The Brattle Bookshop here in Boston I've been going to since I don't even know when. Longer than most of you have been alive. I have been a customer there, with its current owner and with his father before him, and I love it. Just absolutely love it. It's a gem for a dyed-in-the-wool book fanatic, because unlike a lot of used bookstores, especially in smaller towns, it has a fantastically energetic turnover. Piles of new books every day, so that helps a lot. You see everything at the Brattle, which is nice. Question number 8: do you keep your red and TBR piles separate? I don't have red piles. I have my bookshelves for that, and my TBR pile is really not. It's not like. This might be another question that really doesn't apply to me. My TBR pile is not static. I don't stare at the same books over and over again. I am a very, very active reader, so it goes up and down, up and down. The books pile up only very briefly, and then get annihilated and make room for more piles. But I keep them separate anyway. I'm not gonna. Once I've read a book, I'm gonna put it somewhere. I'm not gonna leave it in the active workspace where I have active titles. Question number 9: do you plan to read all the books you own? Would anybody answer no to this question? My answer is not only yes, but what's with the future tense? Aside from my active workbooks, I have read all the books that I own. That's the reason that I own them. I don't pile them on a shelf in hopes of getting to them someday. That's not how it works at all. I guess that's how it works with a lot of people. Not me at all. No, my bookshelf space is for the books that, like salmon swimming upstream, have actually made it past the enormous vetting, the grizzly bears of my vetting process. They're not. The books aren't. Aside from the bookshelf over here, which is my new work books, stuff that's arranged by month in 2017. Aside from those, which not all of which I've read, all the stuff that's on my shelf I have read. Question number 10: what do you do with your discards? And the question number 11 is: have you ever donated books? Of course, the number 11 is the answer to number 10. I get rid of them. If I don't want a book, I get rid of it. That's the absolute key to even as small a space as I have here. That's the absolute key, is to keep that process fluid. So I donate books there to a number of different places here in Boston. I give books away in prodigious numbers, and I also sell books to the Brattle. They come over with a van every once in a while and just box everything up in lightning fast speed and cut me a checky poo, and off they go. So, question number 12: have you ever been on a book buying ban? No, I have not. And the reason why is very simple. The read my own damn books, book buying bans, all that sort of stuff. All of those things are the side effects of not taking care of the back end of the book owning experience. We're all familiar with the book acquiring. Nobody has the strength of will to walk past a bookstore and all that sort of thing. But the key to avoiding book buying bans and also book remorse is to keep the whole circle moving. So, yes, you're acquiring books, but you're also very vigorously getting rid of them. Very vigorously. At least for me, that is absolutely the case. I am routinely policing my shelves with the aim of creating a Brattle pile of books for them to come and get, with the aim of mailing out a stack of packages at the post office, with the aim of filling a box with books, bringing it to the local pediatrics wing so kids can have it or whatever. That is just as important as acquiring books. Otherwise, you'll be up to your eyeballs in them, and they're not fun anymore. If they're oppressing you, they're not fun anymore. So no, I don't ever go on a book buying ban. But I watch what I own. I keep a watch fly on what I own. Number 13, do you feel that you buy too many books? No, for the same reason. I acquire any book that I like in the course of a day. If I see something and it's cheap, I don't, aside from Barnes & Noble, it's an extra deep discount this week. So, but aside from that, all the books I buy are secondhand and usually dirt cheap. So I don't hesitate. Because of that, I don't hesitate. So if I see something that trips that trigger, we say, ooh, get. I don't interrogate myself. I don't say, how bad do you want it? I don't say, what's the reason that you want it? If I see something and it triggers that impulse, then I just add it to my bag and get it. And then bring it back here to this couch or to the bedroom and settle down, and then I do my thinking. And the only reason that kind of plan works, and it does work for me, I love it. I love that feeling, and that's why I accumulate books all day long, because I do that. The only way that it works is because I also keep an eye on getting rid of them. I get rid of them just as easily. If you don't do that, then you'd have to be very judicious, and I'm not that way. And that is it. That is the book buying tag. And all that's left is for me to tag people. And I tag Jen at Reading with Pugs. I tag Elisa at Paper Bits. I tag Sue at Sue's Book Nook, fellow Barnes & Noble employee. I tag Jess at Garden Scriptorium. I tag Britta. I want to hear the details of where you all get your books. And do you show up there often? And what do you agonize over it? I want the answers to all these questions. It's absolutely fascinating. I would ask these questions in person if I didn't smell, if we ever met. So this is a chance for you to answer them anyway without getting dog hair all over you. Anyway, that's it for now, BookTube. Thank you.